Okay, it is 6:33, and we are calling the July 1st, 2025 Town Council regular meeting agenda to order. First, we have roll call, the town clerk. Is Councilor Bordelon online by any chance?
No.
Good,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
McBride,
Here.
Merritt,
Here.
Parker. Here. Pacino,
Here.
Rusk. Here. And Mayor Franco.
I am here.
8 in total.
Thank you. Up next, we have salute to the flag. All right, up next, we have recognitions, awards, and memorials. Counselor Parker, would you like to take the proclamation, please? I'm sorry. Did you want to take the proclamation? Thank you. Before we begin, is the timer, who is going to take the timer? You will, Counselor Parker, thank you very much.
Proclamation for number 2025642, proclamation honoring John Grice. Proclamation honoring Mr. John Grice, whereas the safety and well-being of our children are of paramount importance to our community, and whereas Mr. John Grice has honorably and unwaveringly served as school crossing guard for the town of Groton from March 7, 2016 to June 13, 2025, ensuring that students arrived at and departed from school safely each and every day. And whereas during the span of more than 9 years, Mr. Grice has demonstrated exceptional reliability, vigilance, thank you, tongue twister, and care without fail or incident, regardless of weather, circumstance, or personal inconvenience. And whereas his presence has become a trusted fixture in the lives of countless children, parents, and town employees, exemplifying civic duty, quiet heroism, and steadfast commitment to public service. And whereas the community recognizes the positive impact Mr. Grice has made, not just in ensuring safety, but in offering a kind smile, a watchful eye, and a reassuring presence that enrich the daily lives of many, now therefore be it resolved that on this day we honor and celebrate Mr. John Grice for his outstanding dedication and faithful service as a school crossing guard for the town of Groton, Connecticut, dated at Groton, Connecticut, this 10th day of June 2025, signed by Mayor Rachel Franco.
Thank you. Up next, we have public hearings. First item is 2025-519-2, Landfill Solar Lease, public hearing. Clerk?
Notice is hereby given that pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 7-163E, a public hearing will be held by the Groton Town Council on July 1, 2025, at 6:30 p.m. at the Town Hall Annex, 134 Groton Long Point Road, Groton, Connecticut, in Community Room 1, hybrid virtual meeting, to solicit public input for the consideration of entering into a 20-year lease agreement and tax agreement with VCP Groton LF LLC to install, operate and maintain a 5 MW AC 6.6 MW-DC solar array on the closed Flanders Road landfill property, dated at Groton, Connecticut, this June 20, 2025. Marisol Melendez, Groton Town Clerk.
Thank you. I had the sheet for sign up for public hearing for the landfill solar lease. I have nobody signed up. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on the landfill solar lease? Okay. We'll be closing out the public hearing on the solar lease, landfill lease. Up next, 2025-521-3, Pleasant Valley scheduled public hearing. Clerk?
Notice is hereby given that pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 7-163E, a public hearing will be held by the Groton Town Council on July 1, 2025, at 6:30 p.m. at the Town Hall Annex, 134 Groton Long Point Road, Groton, Connecticut, in Community Room 1, hybrid virtual meeting for the consideration of the sale of public property, specifically 380 Pleasant Valley Road, the former Pleasant Valley School property, dated at Groton, Connecticut, this June 19, 2025. Marisol Melendez, Groton Town Clerk.
Thank you. Okay, we have some people signed up. To speak during this portion of the meeting via Zoom, you were supposed to email the council at groton-ct.gov by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting. To speak in person, please sign up at the meeting, which I had the list. Please go to the podium, state your name and your address. And up first is Laura Cotto. There's 4 people signed up.
5 minutes?
Yes, it's a 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Cotto. I live at 55 Grove Avenue, and I've lived at that address pretty much my whole life. I lived there as a child, and then we bought my childhood home, and I raised my children there. And I also work locally in the field of infant and early childhood mental health. And I was here to speak about similar topic in 2020 with the William Sealy School property, and about the loss of open space and the loss of play space for kids. And as schools have been closing one by one in that side of town and replaced with apartment buildings. At that time, Trident Square developers told us that they would have walking paths for the community, and they would place the playground outside of the fence so that community members could use it. And I don't know if you guys have been up there, but there are no walking paths. There's no playground use. There's barely any space left at all up there. And I've heard the town council talk over the years about purchasing new land to possibly put in a new park in that area as a replacement. I don't think there's been any land available to be used, and nothing has happened with that. But my kids are grown now. They can drive themselves to the park at this point. But I still want to be here to advocate for families with young children. I think this is a health equity issue. All of the parks are being condensed in one area of town or other neighborhoods where all the development is happening in the area that we live in. Inadequate access to play spaces can lead to reduced physical activity, increased risk of obesity, and other health problems. And play is essential for children's social and emotional development, and inequities in play opportunities can limit their ability for stress reduction and social interaction, developing friendships. The closest public parks and play spaces in our area are Washington Park and Farquhar Park, I believe, and both require long and unsafe walks for families with young children. I was once, when my kids were little, I didn't have a car, and my kids' only opportunities for interaction were either walking to the Bill Memorial Library or to the park at William Sealy, and then when that closed, to Pleasant Valley. But the neighborhood is very hilly. There's wetlands. All of our balls, if they went out of our yard, you would have to fish it out of the Thames River. So my apologies to the environmental committees for all the balls that we lost in the Thames River. But there's nowhere to ride a bike. There's not really any play spaces like fieldside apartments and places like that. The streets are busy. There's nowhere to, it's just dangerous to walk. And so I'm just concerned that as these properties keep getting bought up and developed in the same area, that we're just losing more and more play space for kids. I was really hopeful, though, to see that at the last meeting or a recent meeting that you guys signed the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. And so I know that you must be dedicated to seeing some of these things happen. And I think that the Pleasant Valley School opportunity is a really great chance for you guys to prove that you mean that you want to see equity for kids and kids to have equal opportunities to play outside. So I hope that you will take that into consideration and make sure there's space for kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Miranda Kraus.
Good evening, my name is Miranda Krause, and I live at 18 Ocean View Avenue. Thank you for finally posting the signs on property about a public hearing for this matter. I'm here to voice my opposition to the sale of the entirety of the Pleasant Valley School property for proposed private development of a 2 to 5 story, approximately 300-unit apartment complex encompassing most of the land. I oppose the sale or removal from the public collective of any town-owned land which have established or potential vital value as public recreation, community health and wellness resources with open green space, shade trees, playgrounds, and community building opportunities, especially those which have been serving as such for decades within neighborhoods like the subject of today's hearing, Pleasant Valley School. Neighborhood schools in particular have always served as walkable, bikeable, strollerable gathering places at the heart of neighborhoods and open for all outside of school hours. Recently closed school grounds continue to serve this purpose, and the established need for our parks, playgrounds, and green spaces has never been greater. In healthy communities, especially those where this is already increasingly more environmental and socioeconomic stressors, every one of us in every neighborhood in Groton should have safely walkable, bikeable, strollable access to these places of recreation, restoration, and connection. If we listen to our neighbors and fellow residents, we have a collective community value and desire for more of such places and to build upon what we already have in our publicly held collective resources of parks, playgrounds, and open green spaces. We have this vital value, need, and desire to preserve, protect, and enhance our parks, playgrounds, and community open green spaces, which is also reflected through extensive community input and evaluation data in town documents and plans such as the recent Parks and Recreation Needs Assessments and Master Plan, and echoed in the work of our Athletic Fields Task Force, as well as the public service announcements and work of our Conservation Commission and other knowledgeable and forward-thinking entities. Based on much of this work, Groton has also just adopted a new Town of Groton Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights, which I believe could be applied to all across the lifespan, except maybe the tree climbing part. This Outdoor Bill of Rights states that all Groton children should have safe and equitable access and opportunities to, number 1, ride a bike, number 2, breathe clean air, number 3, climb a tree, which I think in some ways is a little bit more metaphorical, number 4, grow a garden or plant a flower, number 5, spend time in nature during the school day or work day, which that was my edit. Safely walk, or this is a big one for Pleasant Valley, safely walk or bike to parks and open space, which I feel is actually one of the most important components of this Bill of Rights. Follow a trail through the woods, enjoy unstructured play outdoors, play, paddle, swim, or sail in clean oceans, rivers, and streams, and experience Groton's plants, animals, and habitats. In a healthy community, our walkable, easily accessible public parks, playgrounds, and green spaces are essential to the health and well-being of our environment and environmental resiliency as well. The science on this is clear. And to have to get into a car, if you happen to have one, which is gassed up, to drive across town does not help our environment well-being either. I'm very concerned and presently directly related to the PV property that when public land is transferred for private ownership and development, no matter what the town may try to include in the deed and the well-meaningness of the new owners, I don't believe that there can be enough control over the portions of a property which may be designated to be open for public use that will be consistently and forever maintained as such. Even well-meaning developers are business people and concerned with their bottom line profits, and future tenant or property owners will have additional say as to how the public portion of their land is used and maintained. In the current proposal, there is a small corner on one side of the 3 to 5 story buildings, which is designated as open public space, and the other side is exterior amenity green space designated for the residents. As is, this plan for selling the entirety of the property and the new ownership designated this little slice of open public space is completely unacceptable. I believe our public parks should continue to be held and managed by the public collective or of Groton, or if transferred, to be held by nonprofit groups dedicated to perpetual public access and stewardship of the land as parks, playground, and open green spaces. We must listen to and act accordingly on the feedback and input of your constituents who are most affected, especially within the surrounding neighborhoods of these places, and in this case, the neighborhoods surrounding Pleasant Valley School. In Groton and also now in other parts of southeastern Connecticut, there are actually a whole slate of higher density housing and apartment building projects in the queue or
Madam-
recently
Thank
completed.
you. Thank you, your time has
Oh, okay,
expired.
thank you.
Thank
This
you.
doesn't buzz, sorry.
Up next, Lauren Gothier.
Good evening. Lauren Gothier, 31 Boardson Road. So again, I think it's probably year 4 or 5 having this conversation with the town council. And over the past 4 or 5 years, obviously, there's been discussions and talks and thoughts about acquiring other parcels or doing this or doing that. And I think we've already seen it's all talk. And so the idea that you would continue to move forward with this development without taking action, which your positions of leadership demand, which the Groton Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights you adopted last week would suggest are your values, is disappointing. The choice between housing and parks should not be a mutually exclusive arrangement. And okay, excuse me. Town can should have both. Within approximately a mile and a half of Pleasant Valley, within just these past 6 months or so, 751 units have been approved. We can expect 751 new units, and that's not including the 300 going just online now at William Seeley. And so with that, over 1,000 units, cumulative, still no parks, still just talk. Development is happening. I understand that for a very long time we were in a rut and there's a big concern about pushing development. It's happening. Passing on putting apartments here at Pleasant Valley will not stop development from happening. It will not stop the flow at all. And especially, we have to choose growth that is responsible. If we're only chasing tax dollars by putting up massive dorm-style apartments, which has been the trend, with no recreation space, with public ownership, and that's key, especially hearing the comment before about how the Triton Square was promised to be public, and with a private owner, you can never guarantee that. But what we're really doing is just building a bunch of warehouses for bodies at this point, if you're not creating public spaces, third spaces for people to gather outside of work. If we are only building spots for people to put their bodies when they're not at work and when they're not out shopping, we are not doing our job as leaders to actually meet the needs of humans, of neighbors, to build community. The recreation inequity in West Pleasant Valley is not an either-or situation. It doesn't have to be Pleasant Valley or Mary Morrison. The disparity is so deep, it should be an and also. Pleasant Valley and also portions of Mary Morrison, while the Board of Ed retains ownership for the future potential need of additional students. It should be and also strengthening these agreements with developers to make sure that they are making their promises to the public that they were supposed to. And also looking for other opportunities to buy parcels or develop underused parcels. You have the ability to do this.
Do this.
Thank you, Theodore. So I believe strongly that it's the responsibility of leaders in our community to demonstrate their values through actions, especially when they hold positions of power and influence. Otherwise, why are you here? You know, myself and others made it a point to bring our children here tonight to show our children the importance of taking time to stand up and advocate for yourself and others, to do everything you can to build the future you want to see, and to show you just a fraction of the people who are most impacted by the lack of the active choice you are making by pursuing this development, as opposed to the active choice of creating recreation for them. Everywhere in the news, there's discussions on the impacts of loneliness, the lack of community, the way it turns into physical health conditions, mental health conditions, scary mental health conditions, the way it creates actual violence in our communities by creating isolation. And part of that is because there's nowhere to just exist with other people anymore. You are forced to consume or work.
Our work.
You know, we need spaces to learn from others, to learn about different people, to get ourselves out of our silos and to literally touch some grass. These children denied a place to kick a ball, shoot a hoop, and meet with their Cub Scout pack are going to end up in front of screens, and you can't always control what they see. They're going to miss out on opportunities to build social skills, which many of them have been deprived due to COVID.
30 seconds.
And when we deprive children of these environments, we're depriving society of fully formed humans. I know it sounds hyperbolic, but it's incredibly important that we make the active choice to put our community first ahead of these tax dollars. And again, Councilor Rusk mentioned previously, trust in government is at a very, very low point. So I'm asking you to listen to everybody, regain our trust, and choose not to go forward with this development. Thank you.
Up next, David Gothier. Are you asking for clarification? I'm sorry, for Ms. Gothier, there's a clarifying question that wasn't, they didn't hear what you had said.
Sure. Can you just repeat what you said I said, please?
Sorry?
Can you please repeat what you said I said? I just want to make,
Oh, you had made a comment, I think after the last public hearing, you were talking about how folks, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly, but how folks were having trouble trusting their government, I believe is what you said, trusting the choices of leaders. I began paraphrasing, but essentially, counting on you guys to do the right thing by us. At least is my recollection. It is a recollection and not a verbatim statement.
Thank you. David Gothier.
Hello, Dave Gothier, 31 Boardson Road. I am here to voice my opposition of all these apartments pretty much being built right down the street from me. You go take a drive down by Pleasant Valley pretty much any day. There's always someone parked there and pretty much using the place as a park. There's nothing to play on, but people are there with their dogs and kids using the facility. It's just kind of like ingrained in the neighborhood that that's what people would like to use it for. To touch on another point here that's often talked about, not here, but in workplaces and at kitchen tables, it's always like championed that all these apartments are going to be for all these EB employees and they're all going to live here. They're too expensive for EB employees to live at, unless you're maybe like a manager or some kind of supervisor. You're not attracting the workforce to come live here by building these massive complexes where people pay $1,800 to $2,000 a month for like a studio apartment. It doesn't work. Short and sweet, that's it for me.
Thank you. That's the rest of our list. Is there anybody online?
No, I don't have anyone listening for this, and someone for the regular comments later.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Good evening, councilors. My name is Genevieve Surf. I live at 6 Pearl Street in Mystic, which is what I really wanted to talk about tonight because it's turning into a bigger and bigger mess by the minute, but I'll wait till the next meeting. I really wish you would address it. It's like a sewer down there now. Anyway, this is about Pleasant Valley. And I thought what I would do, I was looking at the agenda and there were 2 attachments to your packet, one of which was the excellent guest editorial that Lauren wrote for the New London Day. If you go to the opinion section and then you look at guest op-eds or something like that, you'll find a really excellent editorial that she wrote, describing all the issues. But the other attachment you have on your agenda packet is from Diane Glembalski, who is one of these people who works quietly behind the scenes in the planning department. She's absolutely excellent. I really respect her. I thought that after Deb Jones that we had, it would be hard to find somebody as good, but Diane is absolutely fantastic, and she's written a 3-page document on her opinion of what the problems are and what should happen to Pleasant Valley School. And I'm going to just quote parts of what she said because I obviously can't read the whole thing. But she did submit it as a public comment for this public hearing. Okay, her comments on the site plan and renderings. 1, 300 units may not fit on the site. Renderings do not show the extent of slopes, and proposal as shown may require extensive removal of trees and grading or large retaining walls. 2, WRPD, which is some sort of water thing, standards for water quality may require a several-tiered system and large basins to meet requirements, which would limit areas for recreation, public park, etc. with the current design. 3, the drainage system will probably need to direct water to the east of Route 12 and may require extensive upgrades of the current systems. As far as I know, the town would have to pay for all of that. I don't think the developer pays for these things, but I might be wrong. 4, public park space, large vegetated areas, and recreation areas for this site may be extremely limited and/or reduced if the town agrees to 300 or some other specific number of units up front. 5, existing multi-use path along the Pleasant Valley Road North does not appear to be part of the plan and should not be removed in this area. So her recommendations, and again I'll summarize this, decide the amount of public active recreation space the town wants on this site and then set it aside with ownership remaining with the town. 2, make sure the drainage system basins are not part of the public open space and recreation areas for the site. Also make sure the large undisturbed vegetative areas remain also undisturbed. 3, be careful on agreeing to a specific design and/or number of units that limits town staff and Planning and Zoning Commission from an appropriate analysis and determination on an application for a final design. Basically, if you completely stuff this property with apartments, there are no options left. I think it's I'm not an expert on this like everyone else has been because I came in late on the game, but it seems to me, I went and had a COVID shot there, I think. It seems to me it's an awful lot of apartments for that site, especially, well, her next point. She talks about requiring affordable housing, which makes sense. And 5, review all the multifamily developments that are approved, coming online, and are currently available for rent. The large Triton Square project that was constructed on the Sealy School site in this Pleasant Valley neighborhood has currently an extensive listing of available units. Apparently nobody's renting those apartments. And it was pointed out to me as people go over the bridge that they actually find them quite unattractive and also very expensive. Which brings me to an aside. We need design requirements for our apartment complexes from now on.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Okay, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Shayana Poole. I live at 259 Charter Oak Military Community.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
My name is Shayana Poole. I live at 259 Charter Oak Military Community. I just want to keep it short and sweet and asked for fenced-in playgrounds for the disabled. Part of Scouts, and we only have one spot that we meet up right now, and it is not fenced in, so half of my, well, not half, but some of my Scouts are not able to attend because it is not fenced in. Also, lights and sidewalks on Tollgate. We go for walks over there, and we can't really walk down there because we'll get hit, can't be seen. So that's basically it. More areas for my kids to play into, parks, and Pleasant Valley would be the perfect place for that. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for holding this public comment. My name is Adrian Johnson, and I live at 4 Haley Farm Lane. I'm also a member of the Board of Ed, but I speak here tonight solely on my own behalf, not as a representative of the board. I want to share some personal thoughts on the need for public spaces in Groton's neighborhoods, particularly in the areas that are currently underserved by recreation areas. After watching last month's council meeting, I took the opportunity to explore the town's GIS database, and I was surprised by how limited open space is in certain parts of Groton, particularly in District 4. Outside of the properties managed by the Board of Ed, there are very few, if any, feasible locations to build a new park in the future, with the exception of Pleasant Valley School. I consider myself fortunate to live near a state park, and I also have a town park less than a 5-minute walk through safe neighborhood roads. But not everyone in our town has those same opportunities. Access to open spaces and recreational areas should not be a privilege reserved for certain neighborhoods. It should be available to all of Groton's residents. As a member of the board, I'm aware that there was a recent request to transfer part of Mary Morrison School property to the town to make a park. After public comment in the meeting, largely supported converting the Pleasant Valley School property into a park. I think it's a great idea if it aligns with the town's long-term interests and needs. However, I would like to remind the council that Charles Barnum School is currently the only elementary school in that part of town, and it's 61 years old, and it's operating at capacity. With over 1,000 new housing developments approved or under construction in the past year, the potential for additional, I believe, Columbia-class submarines coming in, we are already expecting an increase in student enrollment. Other existing schools are also at or nearing capacity. As a board member, I will be examining the future needs for our school facilities, and the Mary Morrison property may become a more viable and cost-effective option for building a new school when that time comes. I'm not suggesting that the Mary Morrison property is not a great site for a park, but I believe the decision to develop Pleasant Valley or convert it into a park should be made independently of any plans for the Mary Morrison property. The town should carefully consider its priorities and evaluate how best to balance the needs for both open space and educational facilities. As a long-term advocate for open space, I recognize that Pleasant Valley provides the most central and accessible recreation area for the residents of District 4, and I believe it's an invaluable resource for our community that should become a park and built in the vision of its surrounding community. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? All right, I'm not seeing any other hands, so I'm going to close the public hearing for Pleasant Valley. Up next, we have receipt of citizens' petitions, comments, and concerns. This is the portion of the council agenda where the council welcomes comments from the public. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or as directed by the mayor, and if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to Groton. Town councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation. All presentations shall be made from the lectern and should include the speaker's name and address for the record. All right, up first, we have Sue Sutherland.
Hello, my name is Sue Sutherland. I live at 32 Neptune Drive in Groton, and I'm on the Town of Groton Planning and Zoning Commission. I commend the Town Council Personnel and Appointments Committee for deciding at their June 17th, 2025 meeting to return to the long-established order of promoting the most seasoned alternate member to the open commissioner slot. However, as past town councilor and state representative Alyssa Wright said to you on February 4th, 2025, quote, she said, since December of 2024, when Jeffrey Pritchard applied for reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission, the town council has not acted. In this situation, past and current practice has been that the commissioner remains seated at every meeting until a decision is made by the town council. In other words, I do not, this is Alyssa talking, in other words, I do not think there is an open slot on the commission. The PAC, the Personnel Appointments Committee needs to interview Jeffrey Pritchard and vote. Then the town council needs to act on the Personnel Appointment Committee's decision. And she goes on, I wish to state my fundamental concern that to date, neither the town council's Personnel Appointments Committee nor the full town council has taken any substantive action on the merits of Jeffrey Pritchard's timely application for reappointment as a full member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which was filed in conformity with the relevant provisions of the town council's appointment policy for boards and commissions and long-standing precedent. Alyssa went on, I, along with many other members of the public, have expressed grave concerns about the lack of transparency and accountability in the council's highly irregular treatment of Mr. Pritchard's application, especially in light of the depth and breadth of his knowledge and expertise in planning and zoning, his interest in continuing to serve on the commission, and the stated policy of the town council as expressed in its appointment policy, which is to attract and retain qualified and interested citizens to serve on town ABCs, end quote. Okay, so this is me speaking now. The treatment is unfair and insensitive, I think, to the candidate, Jeffrey Pritchard, detrimental to the town's best interests, and not in compliance with standard human resources practice. In my last reappointment interview, when I was on the zoning commission, the late Dr. Zeppieri of the town's Personnel and Appointments Committee took the time to ask me what my response would be to various current issues he was interested in, and asked me if I had any questions for him. It was both congenial and informative for him in his important role on the Personnel Appointments Committee, and for me as a candidate. I've attached Alyssa Wright's and Jeffrey Pritchard's earlier communication to you on February 4th, 2025 for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Eugenia Villagra.
Good evening. My name is Eugenia Villagra, and my address is 76 Riverview Avenue in Noank. So, I'm here this evening to talk about artificial turf fields and addressing the question, are they good for Groton? Groton's Athletic Fields Task Force has proposed building 4 new artificial turf fields for Fitch High School, along with 2 full-size artificial turf fields and 1 natural grass field for the Claude-Chester property. Groton conservation advocates strongly opposes building more artificial turf fields in Groton, but we support building natural grass fields for environmental and health reasons. Our long-standing concerns include chemical exposure. Artificial turf can contain toxic chemicals associated with cancer, thyroid disease, and immune dysfunction. These chemicals leach into groundwater and evaporate into air, whereas natural grass absorbs carbon dioxide emissions. Injuries. Compared to natural grass, artificial turf is linked to higher rates of knee injuries, ACL tears, ankle sprains, and concussions. Natural grass is considered the safer option. Heat stress. Artificial turf can reach high temperatures on hot days, increasing the risk to players of dehydration, heat stress or heat stroke, and the formation of heat islands. Stormwater runoff from these fields can contain harmful substances like zinc, which are detrimental to aquatic life. How might this affect Groton's streams, shellfish industry, and Long Island Sound? Microplastics. Artificial turf breaks down over time and releases microplastics into the environment. Microplastics contaminate soil and have been found in human blood, lungs, and placentas, raising significant health and environmental concerns. Loss of wildlife habitat. Artificial turf displaces living plants that provide habitat for wildlife and remove carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. Cost of installation and disposal. Installation is expensive, $550,000 to $1.2 million, depending on field size, infill used, site preparation cost, turf cost, repairs, and finally, disposal, a quote, waste management challenge of huge proportions, end quote. After 5 to 6 years, the infill needs replacement. After 8 to 10 years, recycling used old artificial turf fields can cost from $45,000 to $191,000, depending on the size of the field. Most used turf ends up in landfills. On June 17th, a New York Times article titled "Maker of Fake Grass Sues to Hush Up Concerns" reported on a growing body of scientific research showing the presence of harmful chemicals in synthetic turf and potential environmental and health implications. Some municipalities have banned or restricted artificial turf, including Westport, Connecticut, and Boston. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you. Up next, Lauren Gauthier.
Good evening, Lauren Gauthier, 31 Boardson Road, taking this opportunity again to just state that Pleasant Valley should be made into a park. I feel as though there's every reason that this is the most ideal location for the town. It is already owned, it is already flat, it is already connected by sidewalks that don't require a dangerous road to cross in order to access. Any other choice would be more expensive. I did attend the developer meeting ahead of time, and there was a number of questions that I had that weren't for the developer, so I could not ask then, but things that I would like to hear the council deliberate and consider and hear answers to are, and I could provide these at the end if that's helpful to folks. They kept talking about the council priorities that were put on the RFP. And so my question would be, these selection criteria, were there any weights to the criteria? Did one matter more than the other? If so, what was the weighting given to these selection criteria? And who specifically set the weights? Was there a cost-benefit analysis done looking at the cost to buy, provide access to, and build out a park versus turning Pleasant Valley into a park? What was that price? If this area is such a lucrative or desirable property, why are we giving any kind of tax abatements? Something that was a large concern was the volume of this property with no ownership models being offered, and especially the fact that they are potentially proposing 4 to 5 stories, which would be seen from the Route 12 corridor and would be a significant intensification of that neighborhood. Further, here we go. The public space, will it be publicly owned? The answer so far has been no. And so that does not make it a public space, that is a private space with potential public privileges. What will be the total proposed acres of public space, and how many acres of public asset are being sold? I'd like to know if any nonprofits or public agencies submitted proposals. If so, what were the general gist of those? And then also the idea, the thought, consideration that maybe the sales will be used to buy a property, provide access to it, and build it out, whatever that might cost. But how much in sales will we need to do that, especially considering the conversation by the Economic Development Director that a discount essentially on the property would be given due to all of the public utilities needed in order to subsidize some of the public use. That is the majority of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Yes, I'm Genevieve Cerf, 6 Pearl Street in Mystic. I would like to concur with what Susan Sutherland said about what's been going on with picking the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a commission which should not be politicized. None of the commissions actually, as defined by the state and essentially whose existence was put in place by the state, should be politicized by our local government. That wasn't the point that the state was trying to make in allowing us, in fact, requiring us to have independent commissions for the important things like land use and registrars or whatever, ethics. They absolutely have to be independent. Otherwise, they would have just let you guys do all the planning and land use and everything. But there was a reason why they made them independent, so that they would be primarily not political and primarily responsible to the residents of the town. This is not what's happening in Groton, and it's getting to be really unfortunate. And what's worse for you all is that it's quite clear to the members of the community that that's what you're doing. You've made it into a political process. You've kind of botched how you're going to figure out how to dump these people that you don't want. And it's embarrassing and it's wrong. And I just wish you would just stop doing it. I mean, to not second a motion on an application, a reapplication by the chair of the most important commission in this town, and you don't even second a motion, what kind of a joke is that? You know, we should not be governed like that. You guys have got to figure out another way to do it besides the sort of burlesque kind of things you invest every time. Now, with respect to Mystic, you know, it's nice to have made it like the top 7 whatever attraction in town, but we have some issues. We have too many bars that are open until 2 o'clock in the morning. All these kids get incredibly drunk, and by the way, they should not be served after 1 o'clock, I just found out. I never see any police down there patrolling at those hours. We should have some officers, at least 1 or 2, patrolling on Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday night for a couple of weekends. That's all it would take maybe to restore some order. I've spoken to my neighbor, Leo Roche, who owns a Harp and Hound. He tears his hair out too. He tells me he's got 2 bathrooms in there. There's no reason in the world why his customers can't use his bathroom. But what happened is they leave the bars and they go find their cars, which are parked on Pearl Street, Water Street, High Street, all over the residential areas. So they make a lot of noise on the way back to the cars. They wake up everybody. And then, of course, since they're blind drunk, you know, they decide they have to urinate all of a sudden, and they just do it right then and there on people's properties. They've done it in my dining area, in my garden. They've killed my rhododendron. They drop all their cups there. I mean, this is not fair to the residents. To say nothing, you've already turned it in half of the residential area into an Airbnb area, so none of those guys are taking responsibility. They seal my trash cans all the time. I have to just put them out at the very last second and take them right back in so that people won't seal my trash cans. We need a little more respect down there, we need a little more help, and a little more order. That would be really nice. The second thing I'd like to say is for these apartments. You know, I just drove through New London. It's the way they've rebuilt it there, it's really nice. And Dave, I don't know if you had anything to do with that since you work there, but I do think the mayor of New London has done a fantastic job. The fact that he's got a community center now that he really worked hard to get with a pool for the residents is just wonderful. Why we still don't have a pool, I don't understand. We're spending millions and millions on the Gloucester Fields. We're spending $11 million on the golf course. We spend millions on everything. And we still don't have a pool for our kids who have been, you know, begging for a pool ever since I've moved back to Groton. And some of these kids want to be able to swim competitively. Why is it that everybody else can have a pool and they can't? We can't have a pool here in Groton. We're supposed to be a fairly wealthy community with an electric boat and Pfizer. I really wish you had put a pool in Gloucester.
Thank you, your time has expired.
Well, I've south of 6, oh, I see, it goes the other way. All right, thank you.
Are we having a problem with the volume of the
I have
timer?
no clue what's wrong with the button, because it hasn't been going off at the yellow, green, or the red.
Thank you.
I just have the time on it.
Maybe we can fix it when we're on a break. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Hi, my name is Gretchen Witten, and I live at 32 Cherry Circle. And I should have spoken earlier, but it took me a while to get my chutzpah up. I actually went to Pleasant Valley as a kid. I'm an extreme Groton local. I grew up in Navy housing behind Pleasant Valley and walked a path there every day to school. I went there from kindergarten until 3rd grade when my parents moved to Gales Ferry. And as an adult, I never would have given a playground a second thought until I had kids. And my son was 1.5 years old when COVID shut everything down. And the only way he had interaction with other people that was unrestricted was at a playground. And now that we live in housing, if we didn't have the poorly maintained Navy housing playgrounds, he wouldn't have that now. He goes to Charles Barnum and he gets to play on the little kid playground, which is a bit nicer than the older kid playground, but it's not great. So now my husband and I plan our traveling actually around playgrounds. If you've traveled with little kids, you know how important that can be. So you can make your traveling happen. So I just wanted to encourage you to please think about a playground regardless. Community space is really, really important. My son's teacher actually said there's been a huge surge of speech delays with kids his age. He's 6 now, coming from COVID and not having the same socialization. So now that COVID's not really an issue, socialization is still important, and getting together as a community and developing, kids to be important, productive members of society. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? Okay.
Do you have one on there?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, the online? Thank you.
Catherine, are you still online?
Can you hear me now? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Yes, my name is Catherine Pratt, and I live at 75 Front Street in Noank. Mayor Franco, members of the Groton Town Council, good evening. I would like to express my serious concerns over the failure of the Personnel and Appointments Committee to take any action at all on Jeffrey Pritchard's application for reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which has been pending for months. It is a crucial element of the Groton Town Charter and the Town Council appointment policy for boards and commissions that if a commission member whose term has expired applies for reappointment, the committee must act on their application. If the committee neglects to act, the member holds over in the position unless or until they inform the town clerk in writing that they no longer wish to serve, or they are removed for cause in a fair, impartial, transparent, and accountable process that includes the opportunity to be heard. On a corollary matter, I feel that the Personnel and Appointments Committee has shown a double standard in its approach to the recent application of Mr. Kadamus, who was also a good faith volunteer candidate with interest in serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Since no action was taken on the Kadamus application, it has the same status as the Pritchard application, which has yet to be voted on. However, whereas the committee has said that they will keep Mr. Kadamus in the queue as a live candidate for possible future consideration, they have stonewalled the potential reappointment of Mr. Pritchard and actively attempted to unseat him with no interview, no discussion, and no vote in violation of the rules and council policies. The foundation of the town council's governing authority is compliance with all, not just some, of the powers and limitations conferred on town government under the charter and the state statutes. I respectfully urge you to make a decision on the merits of Mr. Pritchard's application under the process set forth in your appointment policy before considering other candidates to fill his seat in the event that you vote not to reappoint him. Principles of transparency and accountability require the council to act. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else online?
No.
All right, is there anybody else here that would like to speak? Come on up.
Hello again. My name is Catherine Campbell, and I am the Resident Services Coordinator at Branford Manor, along with also being a Groton resident. I am joined with a few of my wonderful kids from our community, and I know some of them may feel a bit nervous to speak today, so I'd like to share a few words on their behalf. As I've shared before, these kids are bright, eager, and full of potential. They truly deserve access to opportunities beyond Branford Manor, such as parks, beaches, cultural resources, and more. What's remarkable about many of these kids is their bond. They look out for one another, travel together, and have formed friendships that are special to witness. They deserve more chances and experiences in their everyday lives, and the micro grant to receive bikes at Branford Manor would be just the beginning of making that possible for them. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Can you restart the time?
Hello, I am Rochelle Cuevas. I live in Branford Manor Apartments. If the Branford community is given this grant, it would be super beneficial. A lot of us kids struggle with transportation, whether it's because our parents or guardians don't have cars or because they're working and we're left to figure things out on our own. My community is a great one. The kids get along really well, and we often stick together when it comes to making plans or wanting to go places, especially now during the summer. But despite that, we are often looked down on and underestimated. Having bikes would not only give us a safe and reliable way to get around, but it would also show that people believe in us and want to invest in our growth. It would give us more independence and bring a real sense of freedom. Overall, it wouldn't only make a big difference for individuals, but as well for the whole community. For the younger kids, having bikes teaches them responsibility, like how to take care of something and building the confidence of learning and doing things on their own. Having the access to bikes can also support our mental health. Riding around gives us a chance to clear our minds, get fresh air, and feel free during the stressful times. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adriana Howlett. I live at 109 Mather Ave, and I think this grant will be good for us kids because some parents in our community can't afford bikes or transportation for us. So getting free bikes would help us get around easier. We can connect with friends because we're able to go places instead of just staying in our community in Branford. That's it.
My name is Trayville, and I live in Branford Manor, and a bike would allow me to get around in Branford faster, and getting a bike will make me feel relieved. That's it.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I live in 97 Branford Ave. I would just like to say that I don't want to come up here and just continue to repeat what my peers are saying. I would like to just come up and say that the fact of having a bike would just help all the kids in Branford, not just the ones that came here today, but even the ones that stayed at home or anything in general. I think that having a bike for any of the kids in Branford Manor would be quite amazing because most of their moms work a hard schedule or can't get around or don't have transportation anywhere. I feel like that the kids that came here today, they all like to get outside, be, adventurous, I guess you could call it. And like to have time, we like to say that Branford Manor is a community, not just a community, but a family. So I feel like having a bike would benefit all of us a lot more to go outside and do more things other than walking around, such as going to a park or a beach or even a friend's house. So that's short. Long story short, I apologize. Thank you though.
And then I just have a couple more words. These kids deserve to be heard. I wanted to share that a few of them were hesitant to speak today. During the last town council meeting, they thought that the board was not overwhelmingly supportive of the grant. And this community is truly a special one, a place where young people build strong friendships, look out for one another, and grow together. It deserves every opportunity that is offered to others, and I urge you to listen to their voices and consider how this grant could meaningfully improve their lives and strengthen their community. Thank you.
Thank you all. Would anybody else like to speak this evening? All right, I'm going to close out public comments. And it is 7:34, and some of us have been here since about 5:30. I'm going to take a little break. We're going to get about a 10-minute break. Thank you. Thank you. Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay, it's 7:50. We're calling our meeting back to order. Up next, consent calendar. This is in our packet on page 9. Counselor Good, would you like to take those?
Page 9.
Is somebody buzzing?
I think it's Counselor Merritt is buzzing, but
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry. Resolution accepting town council minutes. Resolved that the town council minutes of June 3rd, 2025, and the special meeting minutes of June 10th, 2025, and June 24th, 2025 are hereby accepted and approved. I so move.
Second.
moved by Good, seconded by Rusk.
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Parker.
are we going to do them separately from now?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Normally, we do both the minutes and the contributions as a one motion.
Okay. Would you like to add in the contributions? Counselor Rusk, would you withdraw your second at this time?
Second at this time.
Okay.
Just,
Page
it's not on it,
32.
it's page 32. So just add that, just, if I can have one moment. Just say, include the special.
You can say as well as.
As well as, just add that.
As well as approve the special trust fund contributions of July 2025.
Second.
Okay, moved by Good, seconded by Parker. Thank you. That's usually something Counselor Parker takes on as she's first. Okay, does anybody have any corrections or anything they would like to, issues with the minutes? Okay, not seeing any hands. We're going to take a vote on the consent calendar 2025-623, as well as 2025-4-5. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that passes 8-0. And let's see if I can get my accounts right tonight. And my vote counts. All right. Up next, we have communication and reports. Town councilors. Counselor Merritt, do you have anything you'd like to share this evening? Okay. Counselor Pacino.
I have nothing to share today.
Thank you. Counselor Rusk.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came out tonight to speak. Additionally, I want to say congratulations to Community Speaks Out for a great Salguero softball tournament on Saturday. I attended it with Counselor Parker, and I know that the mayor also attended that. I want to thank the NAACP for the Freedom Fund dinner, especially Counselor Parker, who did a fantastic job. Thank you for all of your hard work on that. It was a lovely night, and I was able to attend that with Counselor Jones and, who am I missing? Counselor Pacino. I'm sorry, I looked right at you. I was like, wait, I know there was somebody else there. My apologies. And everybody, I believe here, attended the preferred development concept for Pleasant Valley tonight, the information session. I want to say thank you to Spinnaker for coming. I want to say thank you to all of the residents who came out to speak at that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I received various emails from various people, so thank you for sending those in. Also, Councilor Russ mentioned the NAACP NAACP Freedom Fund dinner that we attended on Sunday. It was a terrific event. Again, thanks to Councilor Parker and Councilor Parker's daughter who got up and spoke, so that was very nice. And so it was a very, very nice event. And then also attended on Friday the New London, or the United Way Food Bank that was held in the city and contributed by the City of Groton and United Way and many other volunteers. And thank Councilor Good for appearing and volunteering. That was terrific. And Councilor Russ was there too. And also a thank you to all the Brantford Manor kids who came out to support the bikes. It's a terrific grant that we will be voting on later today, or later in this evening, and so thank you very much for them coming out. So, okay.
Thank you. Councilor McBride.
Thank you. Various emails and communication as all the councilors received. Also attended the Pleasant Valley public hearing this evening, and also attended the numerous events surrounding the opening of the New London Community Recreation Center last week, and congratulations to the city for that endeavor. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank Councilor Rusk and Councilor Jones for inviting me and putting a yellow vest on me for the food drive. It was an amazing event, and I appreciate it. And I'm signing up for as many as possible. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for the people of Groton. Also, I too would like to thank the kids from Branford Manor coming in and expressing their views. It's so nice to see that in youth realizing that they can come to their government and advocate. So it's very nice to see that with the kids. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Councilor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilor Russ said both of the things for me, so that worked out. I couldn't make it to United Way this week, but I did volunteer with the Elks for their golf tournament, where they give back to the community with bike helmets and everything. So that was a pleasant evening. Thank you to everyone who came out to speak. We hear you. We will work on everything we can to the best of our ability, and thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank everybody who came out and spoke this evening. And I also had various communications with residents. I would also encourage the public to watch the 5:30 Pleasant Valley presentation that happened before our meeting. It was informative. The developer gave an account of their vision. There's much work still to be done. It's in the early stages, but very good information there. Thank you for mentioning the Community Speaks Out Sober Softball Tournament. And lastly, I just want to take a moment and mention that we lost a beautiful young woman of 23 years. She was 23 years old. She was a resident of Groton, lived in the Noank area. And she became unexpectedly ill in a very quick way. And it's just such a tragedy for our community, specifically for Noank. And I'm sending condolences to Marissa's family, and 23 years old. It's just heartbreaking. So my condolences. Now we're going to move on to the clerk of the council, please.
I want to apologize to Councilor Good. It's been brought to my attention that due to a clerical error in the clerk's office, his political affiliation has been questioned. So I want to put it in record that Councilor Good has never changed his party affiliation, and a quick call to the Register of Voters will confirm that. And once again, I apologize.
So to confirm, Councilor Good, his application has always been a Democrat.
Correct.
There was just simply a clerical error.
Correct.
In the clerk's office, which happens.
Yes.
So thank you for clarifying and correcting that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Up next, clerk of the representative town meeting.
Okay. Their next meeting is next Wednesday, July 9th at 7 p.m. at 3:55. There are currently 5 vacancies. District 1 has a Democratic seat. District 4 has 1 Democratic seat and 2 minority representations, and District 3 has 1 minority representation. So if anybody's interested, reach out to the clerk's office.
Thank you. Up next is the town manager.
District 1 has a Democratic seat.
Town manager?
Good evening. First, I just wanted to mention there was a comment earlier about police presence or lack thereof in downtown Mystic. I was just conferring during the break with Chief Pissarro that they take, first of all, the patrol in that area regularly sweeps through downtown Mystic, but also we regularly have 1 or 2 officers. They're not called in, but it's a volunteer basis, but we usually have 1 or 2 officers on the weekend nights. It's, with that many bars, it's actually, a lot of territory to cover for just a couple of people, but there is regular police presence down there. Just a quick mention on the Board of Ed operational review. The operational reviewer touched base today. He just received some of the information was waiting for. He's at a conference this week, but he's hoping to just give us a status report where we're at to date by the end of next week. As soon as I get that, I'll pass it on. Quick update on cannabis and NIP funding is building up a bit there, so I thought I'd pass it on where we're at. For cannabis funding, we've received $161,000 and change to date, but with 2 more payments for May and June expected, so approximately $193,000 we should have shortly. For NIPS, that's unallocated to anything. For NIPS, we have $94,500 and change, currently unallocated. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Colonel Ledyard, construction has started at Colonel Ledyard. If you go by there, the former Colonel Ledyard School, that project, if you go there, roof's being demolished. They have construction barriers up. There's ongoing construction there now, which is great. Next week at the COW, we are going to just talk about, give an update for District 4 Parks, open space. Just a quick note, Mark Berry and I met with the representative from Balfour Beatty concerning potentially accessing some parks there. It was a very good meeting. Mark and I subsequently toured all the parks for Balfour Beatty. I've given an initial request to about 3 of them. I'm waiting to hear back before I put an official request in. And then I've been invited to attend a Board of Ed COW on July 14th to discuss Mary Morrison, so that'll be good. A few public works items. They are going to paint the interior of the Quantic Plains Park restrooms next week. There'll be porta potties on site. And then also the sidewalk work is almost done there. The actual sidewalk is done. There's just a couple punch list items. A little bit of fill, a little bit of gravel needed in one little area, and then the drainage swell was dug a little too deep, so they've got to fill it back in a little bit. Let's see, the easement work for the culvert on Quaker Farm Road Hill, that began right about when I got here, that project. The easement work completed, and so it's going out to bid in August, so it'd be good to finally get that going. And then just an interesting note, we found out that there was a monument to George Washington that was located off 117. The route he took, let's see, it was, route he took from New York to Boston at one point, but the DOT years ago had moved the marker and kind of hidden it. The Daughters of American Revolution asked if it could be relocated to a more prominent spot. Groton Utilities offered their land, and we actually moved it, and our guys went above and beyond without being asked to. We have a little bit of granite work that has been pulled from other spots. They pulled granite, made a kind of a nice thing around it, and you'll see a picture of that in my report to the council. The Shenectady Golf Course point-of-sale system is still on schedule to be operational in mid-July. I believe their current plan is to activate or transfer over on July 14th and 15th. That's a slow time due to a tournament there, so there's not a lot of bookings going on, so that's when they're doing that. And I believe that's it, unless you have any questions.
Councilor McBride?
Just a quick question through the mayor. Would it be possible to get an update on the opioid settlement money as well, when you ever get a chance? Because I think I've seen
I would
that
actually.
There's been some settlements recently, if we could just see what that number is. Thank you.
I will provide that.
Councilor Good, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the mayor, just wondering where the location, I didn't hear the location of the George Washington marker is now.
It's up near Candlewood and 117. There's a pump station apparently right near there. That's where it's at.
Okay, great.
And if you go there, you'll see a stone with a bronze plaque that's there. So they wanted to get it moved in time for the anniversary signing of the Declaration of Independence. So.
That sounds wonderful. I have to ask, the cannabis and the NIP funding, when do you think we could bring that forward on an agenda?
We can do that quickly. I'll get it going.
All right. I will also say, it wasn't mentioned earlier, and I slipped my mind, there's the educational sculpture that was purchased with NIP money down at Esker Point Beach, and that has had a resounding community support behind that. People are very excited about that. And also, you had mentioned open space, and it had been mentioned tonight that there's been talk about open space for D4. Can you please sort of give a synopsis, like, since you've been here, because there's been a lot of conversation about trying to get a park on D4. Can you explain some things?
Sure. For one thing, Planning Director Reiner is checking on Triton Square. And by the way, Triton Square, they've just to mention, they've received occupancy certificates of occupancy for about 180 units, and they are filling up. And they don't want it all moving at once, but they are progressing nicely. But there's still a lot of work to be done outdoors. Outside, they're focusing more internally. So there's a lot more work to be done outside. But I've asked Director Reiner just to check on that, make sure there's public access to that. And then, like I said, we're looking at some of the spots in Balfour Beatty. There's a little north of there, I think it's called Windward Passage. Does that sound? I think that's, now that's interesting. We drove by there and it looks like it's in two people's backyard. You would not know that was a public park, but that's actually on our CIP list for funding to make a pathway through there. We do have an easement through there, and to make that more prominent so people understand that that is a neighborhood playground. We also have some things on the east side, a little more northerly of Route 12. So we've been working pretty hard on figuring out. And Mary Morrison, I think, is a great opportunity to do something there.
And you had mentioned at one point reaching out to the state for Gunjiwamp and some other state properties, maybe to have
I did
further
initially, I
access.
haven't heard back, but it's been a while. I'll follow up on that. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, and then there's also been discussion over the years that once some of these school properties are sold and funding comes in, there would be potentially funding to purchase property to put in even small pocket parks in neighborhoods. Is that correct?
Yes.
If the council so saw fit to do so.
Yes, and I've also directed Director Barry for Parks and Rec, for instance, while we're working on Windward Passage, when we're looking at these things, tell me what you need there to make that, really usable. So as you go along, if you need a little more money on that, let me know, and keep the D4 in mind, and we're doing everything we can to expand.
Right, and there was also referrals to Parks and Rec Committee for them to actually look at space to see if there was space in D4.
Right.
And they've been, that's been out, that referral's been out there for years, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it's really more about what the needs are. They haven't identified individual parcels, but both John Reiner and Mark Berry will be here next week to talk about that.
That is wonderful. Councilor Rusk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I follow up on that? There was a question tonight about Triton Square having stated at some point that they would have a park outside of the fenced-in area. Can you give me more information on that?
That was my memory too. Like I said, they haven't done a lot. There's a lot of that outdoor work not done yet. John Reiner's running that to ground. He wanted to read through the agreements again and then reach back out to them. And I've asked him to report to me what's the plan to make it clear that it's public and to continue that access and to publicize that access.
Wonderful.
And once I hear something back, I'll report it.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have something for next week.
Thank you, and I want to say thank you again just to the resident who brought that up. I think a number of us weren't on that council, a number of us may not remember that topic, so thank you.
Oh, just to mention too, I've also asked, we are very much in favor of creating some fenced-in parks, so I've asked Mark to give some thought to locations for that. And eventually when we do the Pequannock Plains Park, the Tricentennial Park there, playground there, the intent is, he's received a lot of requests for fencing there. So eventually when we do that, the intent is to put fencing up there. Okay. And we would certainly want fencing if we did move forward with Pleasant Valley, if that is the case, that we would want, it's partially fenced if you look there now, but to enclose fully that area.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will say my memory on Triton Square is a little different. I thought the park was going to be theirs, and the walking trails would be public. That's what
Yeah, we'll
I
have to,
recall, but I could
Could
be
be, yeah.
wrong. And I would honestly hope that what you say, and if your memory is...
It could be,
I
yeah.
hope your memory is more clear than mine.
I wouldn't
and
count on it.
That would be
We'll find out.
wonderful. No, that would be wonderful. That would be even better for our community. Okay, any more questions for the town manager regarding his update? Okay. Moving on.
Okay, can I add one thing about Colonel Ledger? Just to state, the current plan is a one-year construction schedule, but that's if everything goes as act. So, so a 2-year construction schedule.
Right.
No, it's a 1 year. Hopefully, we get close to that.
Okay. Committee reports. Committee of the Whole, Mayor Franco. I really don't have anything to report, so we're going to move on to personal and appointments. Chair Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We met, the Personnel Appointments Committee met on June 17th, and we will be bringing forward appointments and reappointments in new business.
Thank you. Rules, Chair Parker.
No meeting, no report.
Thank you. Public Safety, Chair Rusk.
No meeting, no report.
Thank you. Let's get on to new business. Up first, 2025-592-1, various appointments, May and June. This is in our packet on page 33. I'm going to hand this one off to Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 2025-592, various appointments, May and June. Resolution making the following appointments, reappointments to authorized agencies, authorities, boards, commissions, and committees, ABCs. Resolved that the town council appoint the following individuals to the authorized ABCs as noted. Full appointment, Megan Raymond to Parks and Rec Commission. Full appointment to Terry Sang for Parks and Rec Commission. Full appointment to Kevin Fiffle for Planning and Zoning Commission. Full appointment for Kathy Chase to Ethics Commission. Full appointment to Santana Kay to Ethics Commission. Appointment of Mitchell Shimbot to Ethics Commission. Alternate appointment of Ann Webster to Harbor Management Commission. Full appointment for Jeffrey Moriarty to Historic District Commission. Full appointment for Ally Dungan to Shellfish Commission. And alternate appointment to Craig Tobias for Shellfish Commission. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jones, seconded by Rusk. Do we have any? Councilor McBride.
Thank you. Just a question for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is this fully, I don't know what the term is, but fully staffed now between alternates and full memberships?
Will there be an alternate created?
I think there's one alternate,
So there's one alternate available?
but the rest can think of.
Okay, thank you.
Once we do tonight.
Well, if that was approved.
Yeah,
okay,
if
thank you.
if this is approved.
And a similar question with the HDC, is that fully ramped up too?
That's not, there it is.
Maybe the same.
One alternate?
I think it's one
I'm
alternate.
not sure offhand. I have to look. I thought there was an other opening, but I can't.
Does the clerk know what, would you be able to look maybe online to see what positions are? I don't know what kind of access you have on that computer there.
Let's see if it's.
Just a moment, we will wait. and see
All
if
right,
the
and
clerk
I'm
can
going to
give
start
an
running
answer.
your time, so don't talk yet.
Well, I can move on to another question.
No.
No. Trying to be efficient.
Appreciate
Okay, now you can ask a question. Yes, I
Okay.
can agree.
While she's reaching, with regards to the HDC, we all received many emails from a member, John Goodrich. Just for my clarity, I thought there was a delay in terms of he couldn't be appointed. Can I get some clarity on where that stands? Is that?
Counselor Jones?
Yes, so the policy of the Committee of the Whole is that once an issue has been denied. Decided, it's 12 months before it can come back again. The personnel appointment is a subcommittee of the COW, so it has the same thing, so it's a 10 months wait until it can come back again. 12 and
Well, there's 10 more
already
months
2
left.
Already gone, so there's 12
So
months.
there's 10 more months from today
Yeah.
before his appointment can be considered.
And I actually have, I think I have the historical commission here. Yeah, so I think I have
I'm
it.
sorry?
3 vacancies on the historic. Are they all permanent or alternate? Do you know?
Full.
One of which would be filled.
One would be,
I'm sorry, I can't,
is showing 3 full vacancies,
Prior to appointing tonight.
and 1 will be filled tonight. And then there'll still be 2.
and one is an alternate and one is a permanent position?
No, they're both
Both full?
full.
Okay. Are
And
there
then
any
there'll be-
alternate positions open?
Not currently, but once one moves up, then there will be that one
Okay,
alternate.
thank you.
So Jeffrey Moriarty is a current alternate, he's going to be moved up to a
He's a
full.
current alternate,
So
and
if the council
he's,
would approve this, there's going to be 2
She found the answer.
fulls and 1 alternate available, is that right? Sounds good.
Correct.
Okay, and we can't do anything and consider Goodrich for 10 more months, okay. That's
Unless
all-
you suspend the rules and get a supporting of 6 counselors.
Correct. May I, Madam Mayor, can I clarify? Do you need more clarification?
Do you need more clarification, or are you just?
No, I think I'm all set with clarification.
Okay.
Are you done?
Are you all done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more hands. We'll take a vote on 2025-592-1, various appointments, May and June. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that passes 8-0. Up next, 2025-618-1, Economic Assistance Fund Reward. 1002, Route 12. This is on page 34 of our packet. I am going to recuse myself from this one. And prior to me recusing, I think we should select a pro tem to run this one topic, and then I will return. And then, so I'm going to open nominations for a pro tem.
I nominate Counselor, I'm sorry.
Counselor Jones?
I nominate Councilor Parker.
Thank you. And you for second. Anybody else? Okay, let's take a vote on Counselor Parker being the pro tem. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I am recused from that vote. I'm going to pass that at 7-0. Franco recused. All right. Counselor Parker, come on down. And somebody needs to take over the machine for time.
Councilors.
Thank you. And I will return right after this item.
Might steal your Skittles, though.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, you didn't,
I
did
think
you?
you skipped me.
Council McBride, could you please read the resolution?
Certainly. Propose a resolution approving a grant of economic assistance funds to 1002 Route 12, ESG 1002 Route 12, LLC ES Goodman. Whereas the town has received an application from 1002 Route 12, ESG Route 12 LLC, ES Goodman, for a grant from the Town of Groton Economic Assistance Fund to help defray infrastructure costs associated with the construction of a 29-unit residential building at 1002 Route 12. And whereas documented infrastructure cost estimates total over $241,000 for water service extension, water sewer extension, underground electric service installation, sidewalk construction, curb cuts, and street lighting. And whereas the requested funding would facilitate the development of new construction of a 29-unit residential building on Route 12. And whereas the assessed value of the property is currently $246,680 and has been estimated that the tax revenue for the property would increase from approximately $13,894 over 2 years, pre-improvements to approximately $112,342.12 over 2 years post-improvements. And where,
Excuse me, it's 119, you said 112?
$112,344 and $12 cents?
119.
19.
Isn't that what I said? 119?
You said 112.
Again? Twice? Yep. Let's go third time. $119,344 and 12 cents over 2 years post improvements. And whereas the Town of Groton Economic Development Commission reviewed materials provided by the Economic Development staff and supported an award request of $119,344.12 towards the infrastructure costs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council approves an Economic Assistance Fund grant award of $119,344.12 to ESG 1002 Route 12 LLC, E.S. Goodman, for utility connections, infrastructure improvements, and perimeter sidewalk construction costs at 1002 Route 12 to be paid on a reimbursement basis contingent on the posting of a sign indicating the project was supported by Town of Groton Economic Assistance Fund, and after satisfying utility and sidewalk construction specifications, all Economic Assistance Fund's policy requirements, and providing proof of payment of related costs.
Second.
All right, seconded by, motion by Councilor McBride, seconded by Councilor Good. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? Okay, 7-0, 7-0-0. And we are done with that topic.
All right, thank you, Councilor Parker. Okay, up next, 2025-620-1, CEN Community Wi-Fi Grant. All righty, this is in our packet on page 36. Councilor Rusk, would you like to take that one?
Yes, Madam Mayor. 2025-620 CEN Community Wi-Fi Grant, resolution to approve grant funding in the amount of $195,556. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. From the Connecticut Education Network CEN Broadband Infrastructure Programs Community Wi-Fi Grant Programs. Resolved that the Town Council authorizes the town manager or his designee to apply for and execute any and all documents and receive grant funding in the amount of $195,556 from the Connecticut Education Network CEN Broadband Infrastructure Programs Community Wi-Fi Grant Program, and refer the matter to the RTM per Rule 6.5.3. So moved.
Second, Jones.
Moved by Russ, seconded by Jones. Any comments? And just to remind the public, we have discussed all of these in our COW meetings, and this is where we finalize it and put in our final vote after we open it up for any kind of public discussion on any items. All right, not seeing any hands for this one. We're going to vote on 2025-620-1, CEN Community Wi-Fi Grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0. Up next, 2025-574-1, Connecticut DOT Micro Grant. This is on page 37. Councilor Pacino, would you like to take that one?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Item 2025-574, Connecticut DOT Micro Grant. Resolution approving the Connecticut DOT Active Transportation Micro Grant in the amount of $5,000. Whereas Parks and Recreation staff have developed and submitted a CT DOT Active Transportation Micro Grant proposal as part of the Go Get Outdoors Groton initiative to purchase bicycles, helmets, and bicycle locks for children living in Branford Manor community. And whereas the town of Groton has been selected to receive a grant from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, CTDOT, Active Transportation Microgrant Program, and whereas the Go Groton team would work with Branford Manor representatives to determine the most equitable way to distribute the equipment, now therefore be it resolved that the town council authorizes the town manager to execute all required grant documents and to accept the $5,000 Connecticut DOT Active Transportation Microgrant Program for the purchase of bicycles, helmets, and locks to encourage active transportation within Branford Manor community.
Second. Moved by Pacino, seconded by Rusk. All right, not seeing any hands, we'll take a vote on 2025-5. I'm sorry, Counselor Pacino.
I didn't have my hand up right away, sorry.
That's okay.
I am so in favor of this microgrant and what it does. I am going to add, personally, nothing we need to change on this. When this comes to fruition, I'm going to add another bike, another helmet, and another bicycle lock out of my own pocket. That's it.
Well, thank you. Okay. Not seeing any other hands. We're going to vote on 2025-574-1, Connecticut DOT microgrant. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that passes 8-0. Congratulations. Up next, 2025-635, introduction of bond ordinance for design and construction of Groton athletic fields. This is on page 38. Counselor Merritt, would you like to take that one?
Thank you. Item 2025-635, introduction of bond ordinance for design and construction of Groton athletics fields. Introduction of ordinance appropriating $14,380,000 for the design and construction of Groton athletic field improvements at Fitch High School, Sutton Park, Groton Middle School, and the former Claude Chester Middle School. Resolved that the reading into the minutes of the text of the ordinance entitled Ordinance Appropriating $14,380,000 for the design and construction of Groton athletic fields, consisting of athletic fields improvements at Fitch High School, Sutton Park, Groton Middle School, and the former Claude Chester Elementary School, and authorizing the issue of bonds and notes in the same amount to finance said appropriation, is hereby waived, the full text of the ordinance having been distributed to each member of the council and the copies being made available to those persons attending this meeting, and that the full text of the ordinance be recorded with the minutes of this meeting. I so move.
Second.
Moved by Merritt, seconded by Good. Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the mayor to the town manager. The way this reads is, and I just want to try to get understanding of it, is this authorizing design for all of the fields in town, not just the Fitch field?
It allows you flexibility. Now, later on in the process, you'll define the language in the referendum question. What this allows is some flexibility so that, let's say, the focus continues to be on the stadium, but let's say there's a little money left over. This would allow you to spend it on some of the further projects. So it allows you flexibility. Now, you would still need to define the same in your referendum question. And it's good to have a little flexibility. For instance, when we did the school referendum, the original referendum said that it was for rehab to rehabilitate the buildings. It turned out to be that was more expensive than new. So then we had to go back out to a vote of the people. And, but without the flexibility, what it would mean is if we did the project, had any money left over, it basically, if we had already collected it through the bonds, it would be sitting there for future repairs and things. But it'd be nice if we had some flexibility for other use. So, but again, you'll need to redefine that in the referendum question. So, you've got the flexibility here, but you could define it further later.
So just through the mayor, so what you're saying also is in the referendum, the same thing will happen, is if they didn't, it will allow you to go to other fields. If, let's just say it came in at 13 million and you had an extra million, you could.
If you write it that way.
You could, if you write it that way, which is how
Now,
you're
if you
writing.
write the referendum question, this money shall be spent, is that only here? That's what it is.
Okay.
There'll be no flexibility. So this is your first opportunity to start some flexibility.
Okay.
And this was a recommendation of the bond attorney.
to give it as much flexibility as you can. Okay, all right, I just didn't, we hadn't addressed this issue before, so this is the first time
Sure,
we're
sure,
seeing
yeah,
this
good.
come up like this, so, okay.
All right, I'm not seeing any other hands. So we're going to take a vote on 2025-635, introduction of bond ordinance for design and construction of Groton athletic fields. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Counselor Jones, you're in favor?
I am.
Okay. Passes 7-1 to 0, and Parker opposed. All right, up next, we are on to page 41, and I'll take this one. This is 2025-637, setting a public hearing for ordinance appropriating funding for design and construction of Groton athletic fields. 636. Did I say, 636, thank you for the correction. The town council resolution setting a public hearing date for ordinance appropriating $14,380,000 for the design and construction of Groton athletic fields, consisting of athletic field improvements at Fitch High School, Sutton Park, Groton Middle School, and the former Gloucester Elementary School, and authorizing the issue of bonds and notes in the same amount to finance said appropriation. Resolved that the public hearing to be held on Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025 at 6:30 PM in the council chambers of Town Hall, Groton, Connecticut, on the resolution entitled Ordinance appropriating $14,380,000 for the design and construction of Groton athletic fields, consisting of athletic field improvements at Fitch High School, Sutton Park, Groton Middle School, and the former Gloucester Elementary School, and authorizing the issue of bonds and notes in the same amount to finance said appropriation. And the full text of such resolution shall be included in these minutes as an attachment. Further resolved that a notice of such hearing be published and posted. I so
Second.
move.
Second, Pacino.
Moved by Franco, seconded by Pacino. Any comments on setting a public hearing? Counselor Parker?
I will be voting on this. I agree to bring it out to the public vote. The other item that we discussed, I am just not in favor of a bond. But for the public hearing, I'm all in favor of, because I do want to hear what the public's going to say about this. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands. We're going to vote on 2025-636. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that passes 8-0. Up next, 2025-575-1, adoption of a Town of Groton Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. This is on beginning on page 42. Counselor Parker, would you like to take that one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution 2025-5-75, adoption of a Town of Groton Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. Resolution to adopt a Town of Groton Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights, whereas OPDS and Parks and Recreation staff have been working with representatives from Groton Public Schools and Groton Open Space Association as the Go Get Outdoors Groton Partnership. And whereas the team was formed based on the recognition developed from discussions with Groton youth that all children living in Groton don't have equitable access to nature, and whereas in helping ensure that all Groton youth are able to benefit from a connection with nature, the Go Groton team successfully applied to participate in Nature Everywhere program through a nationwide solicitation in 2023. And whereas the Nature Everywhere program has provided technical assistance and funding to help the team develop a nature equity plan for Groton's youth, which is scheduled to be completed in August of 2025. And whereas the Go Groton team completed extensive community engagement to hear from the children and families in our community to develop the following Children's Outdoor Bills of Rights, COBAR. All Groton children should have safe and equitable access and opportunities to 1, ride a bike, 2, climb a tree, 3, grow a garden or plant a flower, 4, spend time in nature during the school day, 5, walk or bike to parks and open space, 6, follow a trail through the woods, 7, enjoy unstructured play outdoors. 8, play, paddle, swim, or sail in clean ocean, rivers, and streams. 9, breathe clean air. 10, experience Groton's plants, animals, and habitats. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Council hereby adopts the Town of Groton Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights as presented. I so move.
Second.
Moved by Parker, seconded by Rusk. Any comments from anybody? All right, I'm seeing no hands. We're going to take a vote on 2025-575-1, adoption of the Town of Groton Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, passes 8-0. Up next, 2025-619-1, TVCCA lease, 36-40 Central Avenue.
Madam Mayor, I need to recuse myself for this.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so this is in our packet on page 44. Counselor Good, would you like to take that one?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item number 2025-619, TVCCA lease 36-40 Central Avenue. Resolution approving ground lease with Thames Valley Council for Community Action Incorporated. Agreements with the TVCCA for the premises at 36, 38, and 40 Central Avenue. Whereas the Thames Valley Council for Community Action, TVCCA, has provided daycare programs and other needed social services to Groton residents in cooperation with the Town of Groton. And whereas TVCCA currently leases from the Town of Groton the premises of 36, 38, and 40 Central Avenue, where TVCCA operates children's programs. And whereas TVCCA has been engaged in efforts to acquire funding to construct a larger facility, allowing for expanded services for the areas. And whereas TVCCA requires a single lease that includes 36, 38, and 40 Central Avenue as part of pursuing certain funding opportunities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town manager is authorized to execute the updated ground lease with Thames Valley Community Council for Community Action Incorporated to include any corrections recommended by the town's committee of the whole.
Second, Pacino.
Okay, moved by Good, seconded by Pacino. All right, I'm not seeing any hands. We're going to take a vote on 2025-619-1 TVCCA lease 36-40 Central Avenue. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That is 7-0 with one recusal of Counselor Rusk. All right, moving on to 2025-595-1 synthetic turf, Fitch High School. This is on our packet, page 45. Counselor McBride, would you like to take that one?
Sure, thank you. 2025-595 synthetic turf, Fitch High School. I'd like to propose a resolution approving the installation of synthetic turf on the stadium field at Fitch High School as part of Phase 1 renovations. Whereas the Athletic Task Force recommended to install a multi-purpose synthetic turf field at Fitch High School as part of the proposed renovations outlined in Phase 1, and whereas the synthetic versus natural turf data was presented to the council, included durability, use and performance, health and safety concerns, maintenance and daily operational analysis, and a cost comparison of both synthetic and natural turf. And whereas the Committee of the Whole recommended for approval at their meeting on June 27, 2025, the installation of synthetic turf free from PFAS on the stadium field at Fitch High School as part of Phase 1. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council approves synthetic turf free from PFAS to be installed on the stadium field at Fitch High School.
Second.
Moved by McBride, seconded by Good. All right, I'm not seeing any hands, so let's take a vote on 2025-595-1 synthetic turf, Fitch High School. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? That passes 7-1-0 with Counselor Jones opposed. All right, up next is 2025-95-4, open agenda item review. Wow, we usually don't make this part of our meeting. This is for July of 2025. This is on page 47 of our packet. Mr. Burt, do you want to give us an update on the items listed?
Sure. Do you just want me to go down the list?
Sure, sounds
Okay.
wonderful.
As mentioned recently, Councilor Pacino and I had attended a veterans, now the first item is the priority item of Connecticut Veteran Service Director position. Councilor Pacino and I had attended a veterans representative training about 3 weeks ago. A lot of good information I need to sift through. I just have not had time to do so yet, but the intent is to have further discussions soon. Let's see, community recreational events, I need to ask for an update from Director Barry on that. We've had a lot of turnover in that newer position. I've got to see where we're at on it. NIPS miniature bottle funding buyback program, that's slated to come on, I believe, August 12th to the cow. There's no real firm, affordable housing is more of a nebulous
Can we go
thing.
back to the NIPS before you move on? You're saying it's coming on 8/12, but is there any is there update on the buyback program, or is?
Other than, we're not in favor. We
Okay.
don't think it's a real workable
Okay, good to know, thank you.
But it's up to the council.
That's okay. No, I just wanted to get the input, thank you.
Yeah. Affordable housing, that's kind of nebulous, that's an ongoing, as things come up, you know, it's a goal of the council, but there is no real direction from the council for anything for staff to do on that at this point. Flooding and weather-related resiliency, that's also kind of, as you know, we did the study in Mystic, last one on this one. We did the study in Mystic, we're now starting to implement things, doing engineering on the backflow preventers along the Mystic River, some of those types of things. So we're in some of the preliminary engineering stages so that we know what the actual costs to implement are.
I think Counselor Jones has a question on that one.
I have a question through the mayor to the town manager. I had asked a number of different times about just having some kind of a list of sort of.
It's exactly in the plan.
Is that what that's, is to
That
kind of
is
just so
the
we
list.
have something we can kind of think
Yeah,
is
yeah.
low-hanging fruit that we can kind of.
Well, the low-hanging fruit's what we're working on now with the backflow preventers, as well as, we're doing those test spots. I think there was 2 culvert test spots on River Road to raise them up, that are 2 of the worst flooding areas. We're doing a test to raise the land to see how that goes, and that might be implemented further, including gravel and pearl, maybe some work there in the future.
Is there a moment or a time when you could put together just a rough list? Or are you not
Sure,
ready to do
I
that
could
yet,
have the resilience manager come and provide an update.
Just kind of give a list of.
Yeah, sure.
Where we are,
Yeah.
what are the items that you have on that list?
Yeah, sure.
Is it just for Mystic?
Well, that's the first thing. We now just, if you recall, we have the funding, the grant funding for about $300,000 for the climate action plan. That's going to be a long process before we're moving into engineering type stages for other parts of the town. Yeah, that'll take a while to get through. But certainly I can get some more information on where we're at on things. And now, as part of the climate action plan, part of that is another grant. I think it's another grant. Part of it is to, just in the Mystic area, look at whether the stormwater, David, is it the Stormwater Authority? That will be looked at in Mystic as to whether that makes sense as a smaller scale first. But we'll we'll have an update to the council soon.
I could feel the daggers.
Community center decision, that's referring to the former Fitch Middle. As you recall, we touched briefly on it. I forget what discussion that was. That's a pretty costly proposition, but we do need to make some decisions at some point. I'll get with Director Hanover.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'll get with Director Hanover on the timing to come in. update the council.
All right, Counselor Rusk.
Thank you. So I had the pleasure of sitting with Councilor Dominguez at the NAACP dinner from the city of New London. And I asked them, how did you fund this? Like, how did you fund this beautiful new project? They got huge grants, and I'm sure Councilor McBride can share more on specifics. So I guess my question is, one, is it more expensive to renovate or to build new? And two, what kind of grants are we looking for at this point? And is there anything available?
For the community center building itself. Now, the part we're talking about is not so much really the community center, we're really talking about the rest of the building for other services. So it's a little different, it's not the same as New London. Now, I will say New London has access because of it just being a city and their status to a lot of funding we don't have access to. They have a lot of entitlement funds, other things, so they're quite a bit different animal. You know, I'm always on the lookout. For instance, I saw Ledger had received some funding for, I think it was for parks. They're like, oh, we're not eligible here for that. We're too big for that. So I'm always looking, but there's certain grants there for some communities, not others. But probably our best hope would be, and they were going to want to see us put money into it, would be if we went for a bond commission funding for a portion of it, or potentially a later CIF, community infrastructure grant funding. But we're going to have to put a lot of skin in the game, like millions, if we want to access those likely. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, nobody else has a hand up.
We already talked about parks on West Side, D4, that'll be on next week. The Athletic Field Task Force had begun speaking about potential Board of Ed Parks and Rec agreement for use of fields. I'll ask Mark for an update, Mark Berry, the director, for an update on that. Let's see, Groton Heights, that was referred back to committee. Pleasant Valley, we had the public hearing tonight. Carter Peace Garden, my executive assistant, Lisa, had reached out to both the Rotary Club that's working on that, as well as we'd asked for, forgive me, the name of the Veterans Committee we had escapes me, but we've, after repeated attempts, had no replies from either body. So we're not sure where that, she's reached out repeatedly recently. Athletic Fields Master Plan, phasing bond, we're in the middle of all that with the public hearing on the 22nd. Route 117, Route 184 intersection, I actually just emailed the DOT again to see if they can review that as a possible roundabout. If we had put in funding before for a different plan with, I forget exactly, but a different configuration from what's there, not a roundabout. That did not make it far, so we're trying we think it'd be a good location for a roundabout. I've asked Chief Passaro to have a staff pull accident statistics for that intersection, so we put together the reasoning for why I tried to do a bigger push. So I was just working on that today. So that is a priority, though. Groton Ambulance lease extension, their lease isn't up, I think, till around the end of the year, maybe January. So it's on my list. I'll bring it sometime. It's not like a rush thing. Outside library funding opportunities, I believe that was a referral from the mayor, if I remember correctly. I haven't looked further at that, I apologize, but I have to refresh myself on that. I think it's using some of these other dedicated funds to have towards the outside libraries. Is that
It's the outside libraries and trying to come up with a, funding for basically equality, so that, just like we did with the pilot money with the fire departments, trying to come up with some kind of equality, so because it is basically, it's hard to judge how to give them money.
I'll refresh my memory on that, though, and get back with you on that. Then the Councilor McBride Stormwater Authority. We've already discussed that in passing.
Regional.
Trash hauler regulations.
How many people supported that?
Where was it up? It made it.
I don't know. I honestly don't even remember how it got on here, to be honest with you.
Persistency.
And for the record, I do think it's worth looking at, the Stormwater Authority. I think it comes a time we might not have a choice. Trash hauler regulations, we had that referral about times of operation in a portion of town. Chief Fusara reached out to the hauler earlier today, has not heard back. We want to just update them on potential plans here, and see if we can get some voluntary cooperation. So I'll report back on that later. And then solar landfill lease, we anticipate coming to the county next week to get a recommendation to approve that at the next council meeting. So that we're finally wrapping that up.
Anybody,
That's it.
anybody have anything they want to?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, let me grab the paper. All right, I have a motion to adjourn by Parker. Seconded by Rusk. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 8-0. It is 8:50 PM.
No, it isn't.
Woo! Everybody drive safe.